Hello, in this video I'm going to talk about free will and why it cannot exist under any circumstances. I'll talk about this more in my book, provisionally titled Stuff and Consciousness, but that's yet to be published. Okay, so it is a difficult concept to define, but the following two aspects I do consider essential to it. So first of all, if someone has free will, they have the ability to make a conscious decision that is not predictable in advance by anyone, however much information that they may have. And secondly, the decision and the unpredictability of it must not be due to random chance. So the main idea of free will to me is that in a specific situation someone can make a genuinely conscious and free decision as to what to do. So this means that if you could replicate a situation exactly, then someone with free will would in that situation be able to make a different decision from each of the identical other people put in that situation without being influenced by any random factors, whether external or because their consciousness is in any way working at random. Free will is not random or deterministic. There are people that say free will is compatible with determinism, but that's not the case for the strong definition that I'm using here. This follows automatically from the first defining property, that a free decision cannot be predicted by anyone in advance, however much information that they have. So, but anyway, the argument that I'm about to present works regardless of whether the universe is deterministic. There is no way that the universe could conceivably work to allow the existence of free will. So, imagine that someone is at a junction and they have to choose whether to go left or right. The situation is set up many times with exactly the same starting conditions each time. So this means that each individual involved is an exact physical replica of the others. It's not the same person going in with the experience and memories of the previous situation set up. It is an exact physical replica, okay? So suppose that free will does exist and the person does not always choose the same direction. So let's say out of the first 1,000 goes, he chooses left 700 times and right 300 times. So what does this mean? Well, if there was an exact 50% chance of going each way, then you would expect approximately 500 lefts and 500 rights. But 700 lefts is significantly more than this, and it's highly unlikely you'll get this many more left than right purely by chance. It would seem that in this particular case there's more chance of the person choosing left than right. I mean, you could run a few more thousand or million trials, see more accurately what the probability is, but whether it's 50% for each direction or skewed towards one or the other doesn't really matter. What you now have is a reasonable estimate at a probability. So, but perhaps you think that the probability model cannot accurately describe the free will situation. Perhaps you think that you could run a million trials and find that 999,993 of the times left is chosen, and then run another million trials and find that there are only 7 lefts, purely because they've got free will and they're not bound by a probability distribution in this way. I mean, you could get that result, but it could also happen if there was a strict 50-50 chance on each occasion. It would just be highly unlikely in either case. I mean, if there are 2 million independent trials and you know that in 1 million of them left is chosen and the other million right is chosen, then the probability that 999,993 of them are all going to, of the lefts, are all going to fall within the first million trials is virtually zero, and equally so in either case, whether it's free will or random chance. This is guaranteed by the independence of the trials. Free will does not stop the independence of the trials. So this all means that with someone's supposed free will, you could know before the choice was made what the probability of it going each way was, based on identical situations previously set up. This would also apply to more complicated situations with many possible choices. I just chose a situation with 2 choices for simplicity, and we could form a probability distribution for a situation as accurately as we liked, depending on how many trials we choose to observe. You can observe as many as you want in a thought experiment. So you could have a situation where 99% of the time a certain choice is made. Next trial you might say, well, the person's got free choice, we have no idea what's going to happen. But you would know that there's a 99% chance that a particular choice is going to be made, and you could put money on it. So this free will would be no different from random choices determined by a specific probability function, and that's because ultimately it would be random chance. But going by the defining properties of free will set out at the start of the video, random chance is not free will. Therefore, free will cannot exist. There's no room for it to exist. Either it's deterministic, or there's a random element, and that would have to be determined by a probability function. There is nothing else. There's nowhere that free will can fit where it isn't defined by either of these. Okay, so to make the point clearer, imagine that you do have free will, and now imagine a being that is created that is to be functionally equivalent to you. But scientists do not know how to create free will, so instead of giving it free will, they give it a random will, using a module where choices are based on various probability distributions. And I think, as I've shown, there should be no problem in principle of this being functionally equivalent to you, since random chance can quite adequately represent this free will. But then, in what sense are you more free than your non-free twin? In no sense. In this example, we've not really done anything except exchange one functional part for another that differs in only its name. There is absolutely no room left for the existence of free will. It does not and cannot exist.